It's really great to be here because the UN, climate, youth participation, these are all themes that lie really, really close to my heart. As I'm UN Youth Representative for the Netherlands on sustainable development, and for the past 2 years, my mandate is ending after COP. So for the past 2 years, I've been trying to navigate the UN spaces, the COP spaces, and making sure that young people's voices are being heard. Because this is a topic that is about human rights. It's the right to participation. It's also about the people who are being affected the most. And that's not only young people, but definitely young people and future generations have huge stakes in having a livable planet. And unfortunately, we're seeing that older generations are not living up to the responsibility that they owe towards young people and future generations. So before I get started with the initiative that I want to share with you, I would like to ask you, who here was born before 1960?
Uh-oh.
I know you're not alone.
I can't lift the other arm.
And who here has small children, or has, also. Yeah. Because Save the Children published a report recently on how the climate crisis impacts children's rights, and it's quite shocking. Every time I read the report and hear the figures, I can't believe it again. But children born in 2020 are facing 6 to 7 times as many heat waves in their lifetime as somebody who was born in 1960. And when I can definitely recommend you check out the report, and the article was also published in Science. When you look at the visuals, you can see that the climate impacts actually run along a very sharp age divide. And of course, within that, there are different inequities, also in terms of where you're located in the world, of course. So the climate crisis is a generational injustice, and that's what I'm here to speak about. But I can luckily also tell you that young people around the world are also working on this very, very hard. Because what I've seen in the past 2 years is that young people are stepping up and living up to their solidarity, and they can see what is at stake. And I truly believe in young people making their intentions also into actions. So I have a lot of hope also for the future still. That was that's a question I always get. Do you still have hope? Next week, COP is happening, and I'll be going there as part of the Dutch delegation. And unfortunately, at COP, over the years, we've seen that states have entrenched in their positions, and they're not willing to compromise. And it's really, I think, it's also, there's a huge historical responsibility discussion that states don't want to engage in. And this is creating a global North, global South divide that I think is the big elephant in the room, and that states really should address. And I think young people are trying to engage in those conversations and show solidarity that run across continents also. So that's also something that gives me hope. The initiative I want to speak to you about is called World Youth for Climate Justice. It started by an incredible person whom I had the fortune to meet at COP in 2019. His name is Solomon. He's also from the Solomon Islands, which is located in the Pacific region. And Solomon leads with a humility and with an extraordinary determination, despite all the challenges that he's up against. In 2019, Solomon told me that he was attending law courses, or he was attending his law class, and his professor spoke to him and his colleagues about his fellow students about the advisory proceedings at the International Court of Justice. The ICJ, as you probably know, is the UN principal judicial organ, which is located here in The Hague. And the court has the advisory proceedings function, which means that it's not a dispute between states, but through advisory proceedings, the court can contribute to the to the development of international law. And over the past, and since its founding, it has also dealt with issues of global peace, security, and justice, and also really been a means of diplomacy. that's also been translated outside of the UN spaces into impacts there as well. So what Solomon and his colleagues are doing, and what he told me about at COP, is that they want to go to the ICJ to request an advisory opinion on climate and human rights. And this is so important because it's as the judicial body, the court can really look at what obligations states have, and they can make sure that we work on climate ambition and climate equity, and that it's also young people, for example, giving statements, witness statements in front of the court, and NGOs contributing through written submissions to the court. So I think it's time that the court, the ICJ, gets involved in this matter. I think the court has dealt with such important topics in its history that the climate crisis cannot be ignored by them. And the way we can do this is by the UN General Assembly asking the court to do so. A few weeks ago, Vanuatu, a state in the Pacific, has announced that they support this youth-led campaign and that they will put this on the agenda of the UNGA next year. So that means that is a huge task for us. So what we are doing now, we're working on the international movement World's Youth for Climate Justice. And we are asking states to support this at the UNGA. We're doing it by having one-on-one meetings with diplomats. We're doing it a lot of grassroots campaigning, by capacity building, teaching people. I just came from Berlin from a trainings camp where we had workshops on what the legal side, the diplomatic side, the lobby, the negotiation side of it. These are all expertises that young people need to have. So if you're in a position to offer guidance on that, that would be really valuable to us. And we also need people to open the doors for us, because still decisions are being made with young people outside of the room. So if you're in a position to open that door a bit, to invite a young person at your table, please do so. That can help us a lot. Because we can learn, we're young, and we are tackling together. It's not also not a generational divide in the way we're tackling this. The solution is we're all in this together. So we have to stand on the shoulders of the giants who came before us. We have to use the light of the people carrying the torch of knowledge, and we have to get into the rooms for people opening the doors for us. So we're on a journey to bring the world's biggest problem to the world's highest court. Are you with us?